Welcome to a deep dive into a topic I think you'll find fascinating. Giant skeletons found in North America.
Okay.
Now, I know you love a good top 10 list.
I do.
We've got a real humdinger for you today.
Right.
We're going to be counting down some of the most intriguing discoveries of these larger-than-life figures,
Okay.
pulling from historical accounts, research, even Smithsonian records.
All right.
You ready to jump into the top 10?
Let's get started.
All right, coming in at number 10 is a discovery from a pretty famous landmark that you might even be familiar with.
Okay.
Serpent Mound in Ohio.
Right.
This ancient effigy mound, shaped like you guessed it, a giant serpent, dates back over 2,000 years.
Wow.
Talk about a mysterious and impressive place.
Wow.
But what we're really interested in are the stories of giant skeletons found nearby.
Yeah, in the late 1800s,
Okay.
Professor Frederick Ward Putnam, a well-respected archaeologist, was excavating Serpent Mound.
Right.
While most of his reports focused on skeletons around 6 feet tall, a recently rediscovered postcard from that time tells a different story.
Oh.
It depicts a skeleton that's a full 7 feet tall.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah.
The legs in the photo are cut off at the knees.
Right.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Was that 7-foot measurement based on what was visible?
Right.
Or could this skeleton have been even taller?
It certainly raises questions, and this isn't just a one-off.
Okay.
From mysterious postcards, we move to an actual photograph
Wow.
for our number 9 entry.
Okay.
This time we're heading to Cresap Mound in West Virginia.
Right.
Back in 1959, Dr. Donald Dragoo, a curator at the Carnegie Museum, unearthed the skeleton measuring a towering 7 feet 2 inches.
That's taller than most basketball players.
It is.
And there's a photo to prove it.
That's right.
It just goes to show that numerous professionals in the field have reported similar findings.
They have.
Dr. Walter B. Jones,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Forrest Clements,
Yeah.
Dr. Donald A. Kadzow,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Byron Cummings, Thomas Wilson, and W.J. Holland all documented skeletons exceeding 7 feet in height.
It's a pattern you start to notice as you delve into these records. These weren't just amateurs, but trained scientists across different locations reporting these findings.
For number 8, we're stepping back in time to 1897
Okay.
to a fascinating account from Iowa.
Right.
There's a newspaper article from that year that quotes John Wesley Powell, who was the director of the Bureau of Ethnology.
Okay.
She talks about the Smithsonian Institution's work on ancient mounds
Right.
and mentions something incredible.
So according to Powell Smithsonian, scientists found a giant skeleton
Really?
in a mound in Iowa.
Wow.
Based on their measurements, it was estimated to be 7 feet 6 inches tall.
That's amazing.
Unfortunately, the article also mentions that the bones crumbled when exposed to air,
Oh.
which sadly seems to be a common occurrence with these discoveries.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Finding such a remarkable piece of history only to have it turn to dust right before your eyes.
It's really sad.
Pretty heartbreaking, right?
Yeah.
Our number 7 entry on this top 10 countdown deals with a vanishing giant
Okay.
and takes us to Steelville, Missouri in 1933.
All right.
A young boy out looking for arrowheads stumbled upon something way more interesting. A complete skeleton
Yeah.
measuring 8 feet tall.
Wow.
What a discovery.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a rumor either.
Yeah.
It was examined by a local doctor, Dr. R.C. Parker,
Okay.
and even put on display at his office.
Wow.
And to really get a sense of the size, they took a photo of a 6-foot man lying next to it.
That's a powerful image.
Right.
But sadly, this incredible find seems to have disappeared.
Oh, no.
Reports suggest it was shipped off to the Smithsonian and, like many others, never seen again.
Okay, 2 disappearing giants in a row.
Yeah,
This is getting suspicious.
I know.
For number 6, we're going back to Ohio,
Okay.
to the Miamisburg Mound, which is the biggest conical burial mound in the state.
Right.
It's thought to have been built by the Adena culture over 2,000 years ago.
Wow.
Now, they found a bunch of skeletal remains there, including a giant jawbone and bones of unusual size.
Yeah.
But the most intriguing discovery was made about a half-mile from the mound itself,
Okay.
back in 1899.
Right.
Newspapers all over the country reported the unearthing of a giant skeleton near Miamisburg.
Wow.
They estimated this individual to have been 8 feet, 1.5 inches tall,
Okay.
which really got people talking,
Yeah,
including scientists.
I bet.
And this wasn't just any scientist. We're
Right.
talking about Professor Thomas Wilson, who was the curator of prehistoric anthropology at the Smithsonian.
Okay.
He personally looked at the skull from this giant skeleton and said it was undoubtedly authentic.
And Professor Wilson also pointed out that the skull had unusual features,
Well, like what?
such as a projecting jaw and a very low facial index.
Okay.
It's fascinating because those same features have been reported in other giant skeletons found across North America.
It's also like these little details start to link these discoveries together.
Yeah, it is.
And that brings us to our number 5 entry.
All right.
We're heading to California for a story that's shrouded in controversy.
Oh.
The San Diego Giant.
Okay.
This tale involves a giant mummy, accusations of a hoax, and you guessed it, the Smithsonian Institution.
Oh, boy.
In 1895, a giant mummy was discovered in San Diego.
Wow.
It caused quite a stir.
Right.
And the Smithsonian purchased it for a whopping $500.
That's a lot.
That's over $14,000 today.
Wow.
You'd think they were pretty sure it was the real deal, right?
Yeah.
But here's where things get strange.
Okay.
13 years later, in 1908, the Smithsonian suddenly declares the San Diego Giant a fake,
Oh, wow.
saying it was made of gelatin.
Why did it take them 13 years to decide it was a hoax?
Right.
It really makes you wonder about their process and what they might have known all along.
Especially when you consider that big names from the Smithsonian, like the Professor Thomas Wilson we mentioned earlier, were involved in the initial acquisition. And there's a similar story of a disappearing giant mummy from Spiro Mounds in Oklahoma.
Oh, really?
This one was over 8 feet tall
Wow.
and vanished without a trace shortly after being put on display.
No way.
These giant skeletons really do seem to have a habit of popping up,
Yeah.
causing a stir,
Right.
and then vanishing back into the shadows.
They certainly do, but our countdown continues.
Okay.
And for number 4, we're going back to California, to the Channel Islands off the coast.
Okay.
There have been numerous oversized skeletons unearthed on these islands,
Really?
leading some to believe a race of giants might have lived there.
Our story starts with a German naturalist named Dr. A.W. Furstenen, who found an 8-foot-tall skeleton on Catalina Island in 1913.
Okay.
He also discovered artifacts like mortars, pestles, and arrowheads alongside it,
Right.
suggesting a pretty advanced culture. But this discovery was just the beginning.
An amateur archaeologist named Ralph Glidden spent years excavating the Channel Islands
Wow.
between 1919 and 1930. His work uncovered an astonishing 3,781 skeletons, and many of those were exceptionally tall.
We're talking an average height of around 7 feet.
That's right.
Glidden even reported one skeleton that measured 7 feet 8 inches, and another that was a staggering 9 feet 2 inches tall.
And there's more.
Oh, wow.
Researchers found an account from Ernest Windle, who was a judge in Avalon,
Okay.
describing a 28-inch femur that Glidden found on San Nicolas Island.
That's a thigh bone, by the way.
Yes, it is.
And a femur that size means the skeleton would have been well over 8 feet tall.
Easily.
The Channel Islands are like a giant skeleton hotspot.
Perhaps. But for our number 3 discovery, we're heading to a location that's now underwater, Beaver Lake in Arkansas.
Okay.
In 1913, the New Age magazine published a fascinating account by a reporter named Victor Schuffelmeyer.
Okay.
He wrote about the discovery of a nearly 10-foot-tall skeleton in a cave.
Wow.
Near Beaver Lake.
Okay.
And his story wasn't just based on hearsay. He actually spoke to a guy named Dad Riggins,
Right.
who had lived in the cave for a decade, and personally unearthed the giant skeleton.
That's incredible.
Intriguingly, when researchers investigated the site in modern times,
Okay.
they found that the cave had been flooded due to the creation of Beaver Lake decades ago.
Oh, wow.
But dives into the lake revealed a huge shelter cave, thought to be the same one described by Schaufelmeyer.
Okay.
They even found evidence of human habitation,
Like what?
including a 70-foot stone wall at the entrance.
It's like a whisper from the past hinting at a time when giants walked the earth.
It is.
And our number 2 spot on this top 10 countdown takes us to Lompoc Rancho in California.
Okay.
This one's a truly remarkable discovery,
All right.
if it's true, that is.
This account, which has been passed down through various sources, tells a story of soldiers who stumbled upon a 12-foot sarcophagus made of cemented gravel
What?
while digging a pit in 1819. Inside, they allegedly found the skeleton of a 12-foot-tall man.
Are you serious?
That's what the story says.
That's amazing.
They also reportedly found carved shells,
Wow.
huge stone axes, 2 spears and sheets of porphyry.
Porphyry.
It's a purple mineral with quartz covering the skeleton. These sheets were said to be covered in strange symbols, adding to the mystery.
The story gets even wilder.
It does.
They say the giant had a double row of teeth in both his upper and lower jaw.
That's right.
The soldiers even consulted a local tribe. Said the giant was an Ojibwe Indian from the Ohio Valley area.
Interesting.
It's a captivating story.
It is.
Even though it's hard to verify.
Yeah.
But it's worth mentioning that reports of 12-foot skeletons aren't unique to Lompoc Rancho.
That's true.
Similar accounts have surfaced from across the country, with some even describing skeletons that are 13 or 14 feet tall.
These accounts, while fascinating,
Yeah.
are definitely challenging to confirm.
Right.
However, the fact that they pop up again and again in different places and times suggests there might be something to them.
It's like we're piecing together a puzzle, and each of these discoveries is a new piece.
It is.
And for our final, most astonishing entry, we're traveling to West Hickory, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
This is where the most mind-blowing discovery on our list was reportedly made.
Oh, wow.
In 1870.
Okay.
It all started with the unearthing of an enormous iron helmet, completely rusted over.
Wow.
Further digging revealed a sword that was 9 feet long.
It's huge.
That alone gives you an idea of the incredible size of its owner.
Yeah.
And then came the main event.
Okay.
The discovery of a remarkably well-preserved giant skeleton.
All right.
This one, get this, was estimated to be 18 feet tall.
18 feet tall.
18 feet tall.
Wow.
The reports describe incredibly white bones and teeth that were all double and unusually large.
Yeah. That's wild.
It's hard to even imagine a human being that size.
I know.
Like something straight out of legend.
Right.
While it's understandable to be skeptical of a find this big, the detail in the description, and the fact it was found buried 12 feet below a mound, indicating it was incredibly old, make it hard to dismiss.
It really does.
So there you have it.
Okay.
Our top 10 countdown of giant skeleton discoveries in North America.
Wow.
I don't know about you, but I'm already itching to hear more.
And there is more. Stay tuned, because after a quick break, we'll be back to explore the stories, myths, and even genetic evidence surrounding these incredible finds.
I can't wait.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of giant skeletons. We've covered some pretty amazing discoveries in our top 10 countdown, haven't we?
Absolutely. From 7-foot skeletons to that incredible 18-foot giant in Pennsylvania.
Right.
It's mind-blowing. But I'm curious, what about the stories and legends surrounding these giants? Do those hold any weight?
That's a great question. It's important to remember that for many indigenous cultures, oral histories are more than just tales.
Right.
They're a way to transmit knowledge and history through generations. And when we look at these oral histories from various North American tribes, we see a recurring theme. Giants.
So it's not just one or two isolated stories, but a pattern across different cultures.
Exactly. The Iroquois, the Osage, the Tuscaroras, the Hurons, the Omahas, and many others.
Wow.
All have traditions and stories about giant beings inhabiting their ancestral lands. These stories often describe them as powerful, sometimes revered as gods, other times feared as warriors.
Wow, that adds another layer to these discoveries. It's like the skeletons are telling a story.
Yeah.
And the oral histories are giving us the language to understand it.
And these stories aren't limited to oral traditions.
Oh, really?
Early European explorers and colonists also documented encounters with giants in their writings.
Like who?
For example, English explorer Henry Hudson described encountering giants during his exploration of the New World.
Really?
Mentioning their incredible height and strength.
It's amazing that these accounts come from such diverse sources.
Yeah.
Across different time periods, it really speaks to how widespread these giant legends are.
It does, and it wasn't just explorers and colonists. Some accounts even suggest that early American presidents...
Like who?
Like Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt.
Wow.
Knew about giant skeletons being found across the country.
It seems like this topic is finally getting the attention it deserves. What else can you tell us?
Well, even mystics and esoteric groups like Edgar Cayce, Rudolf Steiner, Madame Blavatsky. The Rosicrucians and the Freemasons believed giants were real.
That's fascinating.
It's like this idea, once dismissed as fantasy, is interwoven into our history, popping up in the most unexpected places.
You mentioned something about giant genes earlier. What did you mean by that?
Yes, recent genetic studies have shown something quite remarkable. the presence of giant genes in certain Native American populations.
Giant genes?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It means that within their DNA,
Okay.
there are genetic markers associated with gigantism,
Right.
a condition that causes excessive growth.
Okay.
These genes passed down through generations could explain the unusually tall stature observed in some individuals.
Right.
And provide support for the idea that a race of giants may have existed in North America.
That's incredible. It's like science is catching up to the legends.
Yeah.
What else can genetics tell us about these giants?
Well, the field is still young.
Okay.
But it's certainly an area ripe for further research as we unlock more secrets hidden within our DNA. Who knows what other revelations about our past await?
I can't wait to see what they uncover. So we've explored physical evidence, oral histories, historical accounts,
right,
and even Dianetics. Is there anything else we should consider?
Yes, we need to examine the possible connection between giant skeletons and the mound builder cultures of ancient North America.
Okay.
Remember all those mounds we talked about?
Yeah.
They're found all over the Midwestern and Eastern United States.
Right.
Some dating back thousands of years.
And a lot of those mounds have yielded giant skeletons, right?
Yes.
Sometimes they're even buried with elaborate artifacts and placed in positions of honor.
Precisely, this suggests giants weren't just random anomalies.
Okay.
They may have held important roles within these ancient societies. They might have been leaders,
right,
warriors, or even shamans. Their unusual size setting them apart and granting them special status.
It makes you wonder how their presence shaped the beliefs, social structures, and history of these cultures.
Absolutely. As we continue to study the mounds and the artifacts within them, we may gain a deeper understanding of the complex relationship between giants and the people who built these amazing structures.
It's like we're uncovering a lost chapter of human history. But I have to ask, why haven't these discoveries received more attention from mainstream science?
Right.
Why are these stories often dismissed as mere myths or folklore?
That's a question that has puzzled researchers for a long time. One possibility is that the idea of a race of giants challenges current theories about human evolution and history.
It's easier to dismiss something that doesn't fit the accepted narrative.
Right.
But what about institutions like the Smithsonian?
Right.
They've been involved in many of these discoveries. What role have they played?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've seen examples of skeletons disappearing, delayed debunkings, and a lack of transparency. Regarding these finds, some people believe there's a deliberate effort to downplay or even erase evidence of giants from our history.
It's certainly a thought-provoking idea.
It is, and it reminds us that even institutions with authority can have biases and influence how we perceive the past. What's important is that we remain open to new information and question what we think we know.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
We have all this evidence.
Yeah.
These incredible stories and so many unanswered questions. What's next?
Well, you, our listener, are a crucial part of this journey. We've presented the information.
Right.
Now it's up to you to consider the possibilities and draw your own conclusions.
Okay.
Are the stories of giants more than myth?
Right.
Is there a cover-up? Or are these just a series of misinterpretations and hoaxes?
Okay.
There's no right or wrong answer. What matters is that you engage with the material.
Right.
Think critically and form your own opinions. And that brings us to the final and perhaps most important question. What if we're just scratching the surface of a mystery that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about our past?
Welcome back to our deep dive into giant skeletons. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it?
It really has.
From that mysterious postcard at Serpent Mound to the incredible tales of 12-foot skeletons and even giant genes.
Yeah.
My mind is officially blown.
It's been an incredible journey. We've explored a lot of fascinating evidence.
Right.
From ancient skeletons and artifacts to oral histories passed down through generations. But I think the most intriguing aspect of this whole topic is how much we still don't know.
I agree. It's like we've opened a door to a hidden chapter of history, and we're only just beginning to glimpse what's inside.
Exactly. And that's what makes this topic so compelling. It challenges our understanding of the world and encourages us to question what we thought we knew.
So what's the takeaway for our listener?
Okay.
What should they be thinking about after this deep dive?
I think the most important thing is to stay curious.
Okay.
Don't just accept the information presented to you at face value.
Right.
Dig deeper, research, and form your own conclusions based on the evidence.
I love that. It's all about that spirit of exploration and discovery.
Absolutely. And when it comes to giants, there's certainly no shortage of mysteries to explore.
That's for sure. So what are some specific things our listener could look into if they want to learn more about this topic?
Well, they could start by delving deeper into the oral histories and legends of different Native American tribes.
Okay.
Many of these stories contain detailed descriptions of giants, their culture, and their interactions with humans. It's a rich source of information that's often overlooked.
That's a great suggestion. I'm also thinking about all those accounts from early explorers and colonists who claim to have encountered giants. There are so many fascinating historical documents out there waiting to be rediscovered.
And don't forget about the genetic angle.
Right.
As we mentioned earlier, there's evidence of giant genes in certain Native American populations. Following the latest genetic research could reveal some pretty incredible insights.
It's like a giant puzzle.
Yeah.
And every new piece of information brings us closer to the complete picture.
Right.
But I have to admit, I'm still a little baffled by the lack of mainstream attention to this topic.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think it boils down to a few factors, as we discussed earlier.
Right.
The idea of a race of giants challenges the established narrative of human history and evolution. It's easier for some to dismiss the evidence than to reevaluate their beliefs.
It's like that old saying, sometimes people don't want to hear the truth.
Right.
Because it doesn't fit the story they've already created in their minds.
Exactly. And as we've seen, the role of institutions like the Smithsonian in shaping public perception can't be ignored.
Right.
There's a lot of speculation about whether evidence of giants has been suppressed or downplayed over the years.
It's definitely something to consider, but ultimately,
Yeah.
I think it's up to each individual to weigh the evidence and decide for themselves what to believe.
I agree. That's the beauty of knowledge and exploration.
Right.
It empowers us to think critically and form our own conclusions.
It's been a truly fascinating journey.
It has.
So what's the final message you want to leave our listener with?
Stay curious.
Okay.
Keep exploring and never stop questioning the world around you. There's still so much to discover.
Right.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to uncover the next piece of the giant puzzle.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to you, our listener, thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have. Until next time, keep those minds open and those imaginations running wild